Bonjour. Today we will be looking at present tense ER verbs, regular ER verbs, which are the most common kind of verbs that there are in French. When I say present tense, I mean that the action is happening right now, like I am speaking, he is watching, she eats, verbs like that. There are tons of regular ER verbs, so these are very important to learn in order to be able to communicate in French. There are four main groups of verbs in the French language. There are ER, IR, RE verbs, which are all regular, meaning they follow a specific pattern. When it comes to conjugating, you can predict what kind of pattern they're going to follow. And then there are also irregular verbs like être, avoir, faire, aller. They do their own thing. They each have their own special pattern and do not follow one set pattern. ER verbs, for example, parler, manger, travailler. When you conjugate these verbs, they're all going to follow the same sort of setup. They are called this because the infinitive, by infinitive, I mean the unconjugated form of the verb, to speak, to eat, to work. Almost said travel. Whoops, that's voyager. The infinitive ends in the letters ER. IR verbs end in IR, RE verbs end in RE, and irregulars are weird. Over 90% of all of the verbs in the French language are ER verbs. So if you can unlock how to conjugate ER verbs and how to use them, there are over 1,000 French verbs that you then know how to conjugate. So it's kind of a big deal. When I talk about patterns of conjugating, here is what I'm talking about. That ER verbs, I know how to put the endings on. I know what they look like. RE verbs, IR verbs, they follow a set formation. We will come back to this conjugating pattern soon. What we're going to do today is just look at some examples of common ER verbs, and I'm going to say them nice and slow so that you can repeat them after me. Adorer, adorer. All these ERs are going to be pronounced E on the end of the infinitive. Aimer, aimer, aimer mieux, aimer mieux. Arriver, arriver. Chercher, chercher. Commencer, commencer. Dessiner, dessiner. Détester, détester. Donner, donner. Étudier, étudier. Habiter, habiter. So here's the list. Adorer, aimer, aimer mieux. Arriver, chercher, commencer, détester, donner, étudier, habiter. The other half of the list, this is the second of 2 pages. Manger, manger. Oublier, oublier. Parler, parler. Parler au téléphone, parler au téléphone. Partager, partager. Penser, penser que. Like if I want to say I think that, I'll say je pense que. Regarder, regarder. Rencontrer, rencontrer. Retrouver, retrouver. Travailler, travailler. Voyager, voyager. So one last time, a little slower. Manger, oublier. Parler, parler au téléphone. Partager, penser, penser que. Regarder, rencontrer, retrouver, travailler, voyager. Up next, we'll look at how to conjugate these verbs. For now, we're just learning a few for an example. We'll practice with these few. And Like I mentioned before, over 90% of French verbs are ER verbs. There are over 1,000 of these. These are some of the most common ones, but it is very useful to learn a broader list of ER verbs since you are able to conjugate these easily. You will get a big chunk of your vocabulary from these verbs. Au revoir.